everybody, James Shepard here with another edition of the Self Storage Insight Podcast. Today it's all about new construction. We talked today about how in some cases it is 50% lower investment to go new construction versus buying existing. Of course, there are some trade-offs, and so that's what we talk about today is build versus buy, and we're talking to an expert on the building side. So really excited about that. This podcast is brought to you by CC Storage. If you want to get the best self-storage management software out there with no software fees and no payment processing fees, we actually talk about this in the podcast episode a little bit, but it's very interesting, especially for new construction where, man, I want to get my software and get it all set up, but I don't want to start paying fees. Well, with CC Storage, there are no fees ever, even once you get started. And so we'll talk to you more about that. But if you want to get a free demo and understand how that works, head over to ccstorage.com to get your demo today. With that being said, let's dive into this week's episode. Hey, everybody. I'm here today with Austin Scroggs with TruSteel Buildings. How you doing today, Austin?
Doing good, James. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Thanks for jumping on with us today. Really appreciate it. Maybe you can start by giving everybody a little bit of an intro about who you are and about TruSteel. What do you guys do? Give us a little bit of context, if you would.
Yeah, man. So we're a steel building company. It's simple, cut and dry. You bring us what you want and we kind of make it come to life. If it's, whether you already have a design or don't have a design, you're looking for a steel building. It's kind of what I do is I design and then help you figure out what you want and then sell you the product.
Sure.
That's really what it is.
Cool. Yeah. How long has TruSteel been around?
Not very long. We're a new player in the industry. Dustin, when he started TruSteel, he came from another company and he had a sight and a vision for what this company wanted to be. And he brought a few of us along and said, this is what it is. You want in or not? And we said, we like that. That's what we align with. And so we started the company roughly 3 years ago. And it's just exploded. I mean, you would think that we've been around for 20 years, just the things we're doing over here. It's amazing.
That's great. So are you guys kind of exclusive in the self-storage space, or do you have other industries you serve as well?
Other industries, so it's not just self-storage. Okay. It could be boat and RV storage. It could be flex space, which is a rising interest. Yeah. A lot of people are jumping into flex space, and rightfully so. It's a good one to invest into. Clear span buildings, warehouses, churches, just anything steel related we do for the most part.
That's cool. Awesome. All right, great. All right, so we're going to zero in on self-storage. So I want to start with a really obvious question, and that is, if I'm an investor or I'm an operator, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready for my next, investment. I want to get that next building. Obviously, I have two options here. One option would be to go buy a property that's existing, and the other one would be to build a new one. In your thought process, and as you're working with property owners and operators, how should they be thinking about that? What are the pros and cons of build versus buy?
Yeah, I'm big on transparency, so I'll never tell you, I won't lie to you about things. I'll tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear sometimes. And that goes against myself as well sometimes. Buying existing has a place. It is legitimate, sure. And there is a time for it. Doing new construction can take time. You save costs. You definitely do. You save a lot of money doing new construction. It really just comes down to, what are you looking to do? Do you have the time and patience to do new construction, save that money? If so, start working on the land. If you don't have the land yet, it's still a great time to call a steel building company and ask them, hey, what can I do? How much can I build on? Figuring out, like, if you're looking at a piece of property, setbacks can change everything. Retention can change everything. You don't, where your water runs off. But new construction has a place, and so does buying existing. There's pros and cons to it. These are all things that I love to talk about. But yeah, I think it's 50-50. It really is just what fits your, sure. What's your goal? 5-year goal, 10-year goal. Sometimes it's buying new. Doing new construction, sometimes it's buying existing facilities.
And so if I understand what you're saying correctly in the context here, it sounds like what you're saying is when you go buy existing, right, it already has income. So it's an income producing asset. You're going to pay that premium because it's already occupied. 100%. Versus when you build new, you're paying for the land and the construction, but you're not paying for the income that's being produced yet. So it's a plus in that way. So long term, it can be better because your investment's lower, but over the short term, you got to get it built and you got to get it occupied. Is that kind of what you're saying?
That's spot on, man. You can fill a facility up and get to 80% occupancy in a year, and you're golden. Sometimes if the market's not there and it takes maybe 2 years, maybe that's it. If you don't have that built in, that can be a bit scary. But a lot of times you're paying sometimes 50% of the cost versus buying existing. I've seen the numbers. I have some close friends and customers and clients who they do buy existing, and what they do is they find a piece of property, say it's 40,000 square feet of storage that has room for expansion. They know they can add another 20,000. The market needs it. They come in and they purchase that. You're looking at instant money coming back to you, buying existing, and they purposely find property that has room for expansion so that they can build more because they know the cost is significantly less, but they don't want to deal with the 1 to 2 years that it could be that they're not making their money back or making a profit. It's all about, what is your timeline fit?
That's so interesting. I hadn't even really thought about that. So yeah, that's really interesting. So a strategy could be, I'm going to go find an existing property I can buy, but where there's some additional space, right? And then I can add some new construction to add income to the asset. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
exactly.
really cool. I love it. Okay, so what let's do is I want to kind of zoom in here for a minute and let's go through this kind of life cycles. Again, let's assume I've got one property, I've got, whatever, 150, 200 units. I love it. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to do the next one. Let's assume I'm doing completely new construction from scratch.
Yeah.
I would imagine the first thing I've got to do is find the land, I would assume. What do I need to know about that? Because again, if I haven't ever done this before, I might not have any idea what I'm looking for. So any tips or maybe even mistakes that you've seen people make?
Yeah. So property, before you close on land, and sometimes it stinks. People bring me a piece of property and go, hey, look, I don't own it, but I need to know what I'm doing here. And, that takes up a couple hours of my time to really dig into someone's property. It's a free service I do. It is what it is. It's something I'm happy to do. They bring me a piece of property and they say, okay, here we go. I have a piece of property over in Tennessee. And it's 5 acres. Can you check it out and let me know if it's a good piece of land I should close on? Don't just go close on the land. We need to look at it first. Setbacks are going to be important. You can call your local building department and they're going to be able to provide you all this information on the land. Setbacks, fire code restrictions, insulation requirements, like making sure that if there's a minimum R value on your buildings, that's going to be very important. That can make or break projects. If you have only a required of 6 inch in the roof, an R19 insulation and 4 inches in the wall, versus doing some upgraded insulation, which could be R35 requirement, that can increase the costs of that building significantly and make that project just not worth it. So figuring out what's required for your buildings, and then figuring out what you need to do to maximize the property. That's kind of where I specialize in, is doing site plans, looking at a piece of property. A square piece of property is amazing. You find a nice box, somewhere that's good road frontage, 20 foot off the road, you can start building. We can set it up and show a nice gate with a fence and a nice sign, like wall for your building with signage, and it just looks really nice. And then you can 5 acres. I mean, you could build thousands of square footage. I mean, you could have hundreds of doors on that property, and making sure that you're actually able to build. The zoning is important. Finding all those things on the front end, extremely important. The last thing I want people to do is go close on a piece of property. Oh, this was a great deal. I got 5 acres for dollars or $40,000. It was a steal. And it's like, well, yeah, because it was wetland and you can't build on about 95% of it. You could maybe put one little shop on it. So catching those things on the front end is huge.
Hey, I want to take a time out from this awesome interview for just a minute to talk to you about how does CC Storage, our sponsor, provide no fees, and why is this so important for new construction? Well, if you're doing a new construction project, what I see people do often is they wait until the very last minute to select their software. Now, why would they do that? Well, they do that because they don't want to pay the software fees before they start bringing in rent revenue. With CC Storage, we encourage you to get started as soon as possible, and we don't charge you anything. That's right. There are no software fees whatsoever. If you want us to help you out with setup, we have some setup fees that are just us, setting up your site maps and all that stuff for you. But for new construction, you come in, no software fees whatsoever. Then once you actually get started, the way that we make money is that we implement something called differential pricing. What that means is our software sets up a slightly higher card price versus your ACH and cash price. And the only money that CC Storage makes is that difference between the cash and the card price. That's the only revenue we make. We don't make anything on software or anything else. So what that means is your cost is zero. If you want to learn more about how that works, or you have a new construction project and you'd like to talk to our team at CC Storage about getting you going, head over to ccstorage.com and request a free demo today. With that being said, let's dive back into this episode and keep talking about new construction. Okay, so then the next thing, so let's say I found the land, I reached out to you. I love the idea of you having that free service of helping people out to look at the property. So then, one of the things I'm sure I'm going to be thinking about next is going to be the financing component. So obviously I can go the investor route, but let's say I want to go debt. I know that's probably not something you guys, of course, provide, but do you have any thoughts on that, or what are your thoughts on it? Because again, I would imagine it's a very different loan for me to go and say, I've got this income producing asset, I need to borrow $1 million versus I want to go buy a piece of land and then build a self-storage. So do you have any thoughts or advice on that?
Yeah. So financing is interesting. I've learned actually being in this industry of multiple different ways that people finance these projects. It's not just go to a bank, get money and move forward on your project. I've seen creative financing. I've seen partnerships. I think a lot of these projects that I deal with are a lot of partnerships or just investor money, actual people, not just banks. They're not going to just banks and finding this money. It's been everywhere. I think, especially recently with interest rates kind of jumping around everywhere, local banks are usually what people go to, and they just default to a local bank, which is great. I refer a couple of banks that I've worked closely with on these projects, people that specialize in storage loans. Right. It's kind of been everywhere. I've had customers who do cash. They pay for everything out of pocket and cash. That they go from one project to the next, and they may have started with a loan on one project, but it really just depends on what it is. If it's a small project, some people can pay for most of it. If it's a large project and they're doing a $5-10 million loan in the grand scheme of things, there's just been so many different things. I don't think it's ever just been one way that people are financing these projects.
Yeah, one thing I'm hearing a lot of is, it's so much harder to get financing at the beginning when you don't have the income to back it up or anything. Yeah. That a lot of people will say, man, let me get some investors. And if you can just get that first property, then you 100%. Build it, get it occupied, then go borrow the money after it's already paid for. But now you can go borrow that, that at 60% LTV or 80% or whatever. Now you take the money from the bank and you take that money and go do the next one. Yeah. Right. And so, that's been really successful because again, it is tricky to get bank lending when you're on on nothing. When you're like, well, I'm gonna produce income. It's like, well, come back to us when you have it. I think a lot of times with the response,
Yeah, and I think an important thing is it's easier to get bank loans and lending when you come with a full business proposal, a plan, rather than just saying, hey, this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna make this much money, and look, this is how much I'll do because I said so. Come with a full business proposal saying, hey, I'm going and I'm going to go, this is the land I'm looking at. Here's the permitting process. I can do this stuff. If you're going to self GC something, which is extremely common, and having a GC has its place. Like I said, I will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Sometimes there's places right now I'm dealing with one in Michigan. The area he's in requires a GC. You have to have one. You cannot self-GC the project. It has its place. But coming to the bank or whoever it is, a private money lender, and saying, this is what I'm going to do. This is the permitting process. This is the dirt work that's needed for this property. I know my setbacks. I know my requirements. Here's the limitations. I know who's going to pour my concrete, or I at least understand here's the 3 companies I will work with, one of which who will pour my concrete. Here's the building company. They also put the building up. Here's what I'm going to do on the interior. This is how I'm going to dress it up. Here's the colors. This is what it's going to look like. Here's the market. Here's how many people will pass by my facility on a daily basis. This is the amount of vehicles. Coming with all those things, you almost show up saying, I know what I'm doing. Just give me the money.
Yeah.
And banks, they appreciate that for the most part. The showing up with, you know what you're doing, and rather than you coming to their office and saying, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how much I'll really make, but here's what I hope I'll make, and here's what I hope I'll get for the units.
Right.
Pull up units and facilities in a 5-mile radius and say, this is what they're getting, and they're maxed out in occupancy. They have a wait list, or get a feasibility study done. A lot of these projects, you need to pay for a feasibility study. Don't try and wing it and do it on your own, especially your first one. I've watched that happen. I've talked to customers, oh, I'm good, storage is needed in this area. And then they build a building, and the first year they couldn't get above 40% occupancy. And sometimes it's slow, and that's normal. The economy, sometimes that happens, but getting a feasibility study done on the front end can save your butt. And that can be the difference in you succeeding or failing, or potentially taking 2 years to get to the occupancy you need, or 5 years to get to it.
Yeah, I love that. It's such good advice. Yeah, one thing I was just thinking about, kind of random, I don't know why I thought of this, but I wonder, have you ever heard of anybody using any of the SBA, lending programs for these projects? Like, I can't remember the name of it, the one that's for the commercial buildings. Have you ever heard of anybody doing that or not?
Yeah, I think is it labeled a SBA 7?
Not the 7A, right?
No,
I think the 7A is the more of like the business operating expense lending. It was up to $5 million, but there's another one that goes up to $20 million. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's like it's the one if you want to go buy, because the reason I was thinking about it is for one of my companies, we were going to looking at a building to buy, and the bank was like, oh, go get this SBA. I can't remember what it's called now, but anyway, the one for the commercial lending. So anyway, but I think there's a lot of options out there to look at. And yeah, the better prepared you are, again, even if the bank turns you down, having all the information you just said, well, now you go to the investor, and now when you go to the investors, you just look like, man, this person really knows what they're talking about. And again, coming in with that plan that says, like, I'll tell you another really good thing, at least from my perspective, Austin, is I think going to the bank and going through the rigor of that process, even if they turn you down, oftentimes what you can get from the bank is a commitment that they'll say, well, once you get to 60% occupancy, right, then we would be glad to lend you X. Well, now when you go to the investors, you can say, look, I need some money up front, but I already went to the bank. I already presented all this. They said once we get to 60%, which I project is going to take me 8 months or a year or whatever. So it's just, makes it easier to get access to that capital for sure. So
definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So we buy the property. We're all high fives all around. We now own the land, right? Now talk about how this works with you guys. So I now reach out to TruSteel. I already had you do kind of the site, everything, figured everything out. What does the process look like? Give me some kind of rough idea of like, hey, timelines, or just, I don't know, whatever it is that when you look at talking to a new client coming in, what does that process look like for them?
Yeah, I like to use current experiences or even past recent experiences to explain these things to people. So I have a project going on in Arkansas. It's a fairly large project. It's roughly 80,000 plus or minus 5,000 square feet, somewhere around there, of storage. I just had the conversation with him today. He said, "Hey, what does this look like? We're ordering this. What can I see now?" And it's essentially, it's roughly 4 weeks for the building and foundation plans. These are stamped, engineered plans. It takes about 4 weeks, and usually those are required for the city or county, whoever you're providing it to someone, and you need that before shipping and building buildings to make sure that they sign off on it all. It takes about 4 weeks. Depends on complexity. Sometimes if you've got a real complex clear span red iron building or something, they could take 6 weeks. But storage, for the most part, 4 weeks is pretty standard. Yeah. You receive those plans. I always ask my customers, hey, can you please check these over, sign off on them, make sure that they look good. If you have any questions, let me know. I just want your approval first. I don't want to say these are all good and then you come in and you didn't make a change that you thought you did or something along those lines. So I like to have that one last conversation. Hey, are these good? Right before you get them to the city, just to make sure that they don't say no. That's the worst thing that can happen, is get it to the city. We're ready to go on buildings. You're excited and you give it them. And they, nope, this isn't going to work. And, we were supposed to add a firewall here. So catching those things is always nice. After that, typically speaking, you see another 6 weeks right after that, 4 weeks for delivery. So we put everything into production, fabricate all the steel, get the doors prepped, the insulation prepped, and then 6 weeks from then, so from the time you order to the time of delivery, we're looking at roughly 10 weeks, 12 weeks, in a time when things are extremely busy, maybe 14 weeks with complexity, but a very standard storage project, no matter if it's 10,000 square feet or 100,000, you're looking at somewhere around 10 to 12 weeks for delivery of all the material. And in some cases, in a lot of cases, I think it's a service we offer is installing the buildings too. So we'll have, if that delivery is in 10 weeks, we'll have my crew lined up so that when that building delivers on December 10th, tomorrow, my crew is prepped, ready to get out there with equipment, unload all the buildings, all the material, check it. They'll sift through all the material, make sure that it's there for the most part, and then go ahead and start installing. We don't waste time. We understand that. And you mentioned it earlier is that interest. We don't want your project sitting out there for a month. Then we show up and we take 3 more months to put it up and delay things. We want to move that along as quick as possible. That way you're making money as soon as possible.
Yeah, I love it. So that last part of it, I don't have a lot of context for that. How long does that usually take? Of like, okay, let's say your crew is ready and there's a delivery. How long does the actual setup take? I know it's going to vary a lot with the size and complexity, but what are some ranges for that?
Great. And this is what I tell everyone, a great number to use in your head is if your project was 20,000 square feet, I tell everyone crews are typically going to put up anywhere from 5 to 10,000 square feet a week, but standard somewhere right in the middle of there, 5, 7,000, 7,500 square feet. That can vary. Again, it's right now it's up north. It's freezing cold. It's snowing. They're not putting up 10,000 square feet in a week in the snow. They can't even work that long in a day. So it kind of varies. They get down into like right here in Georgia right now is, it's not snowing. It's a great time to build the guys. It's not hot and it's not freezing cold yet. It's a great time. It's a good medium temperature. They can put up 10,000 square feet pretty quickly, pretty easily in a week. If 20,000 square feet, 4 weeks, you'd be done in and out, all the material unloaded, installed, and then a full walkthrough with the customers. What we like to do, just checking over everything, make sure it's up to your standard and that you like it all. If you have any problems, making sure that, touch up paint, the little things, just making the building look nice.
I love it. Really, really interesting. It's so fascinating to me. I love doing this podcast because just learning all these things is so cool. So I guess my last question for you would be, when you think about all the self-storage property owners that you work with on a regular basis and you've talked to, is there anything that still stands out in your mind we haven't talked about that's like mistakes that they make, or things like, man, if only I could get them to do this, that'd be so much better. Anything like that that stands out to you?
Yeah, I think I'll go right back to it, which is integrity, honesty, transparency. All those things are really important. It's what would you do when no one's watching? I always tell my customers or potential customers, people I haven't sold anything to yet, that people I want to work with is, regardless of who you purchase a product from, and this goes for everywhere, every industry, anything, is I just want to make sure that you're getting what you want and need. I don't want you to think you're getting one thing and go out and buy a storage facility, go buy buildings and doors and insulation and realize that wasn't what I wanted. So I do a lot of front end work, and it's tedious. I like to go through quotes and tell these people, hey, I know you've never done this before, but doing a 9-foot wide roll-up door is probably going to save you money in the long run. They say, well, how? I'm paying more for a door. And I say, if you do an 8-foot wide door, there's a good chance that someone's going to bang up the steel right in between the doors. That 1 foot extra, that 6 inches on either side, is going to prevent people from damaging your mullions, things like that. And I tell people, even if it doesn't pertain to me, I tell people, bollards, put bollards up at your facility. They're a minimal cost and they will protect the corners of your buildings. If you're doing boat and RV storage, put bollards up, not just on the corners, but like maybe every couple of units, put them up just to be there and put that bright yellow, something someone's going to see. I've got one guy, bless his heart, man. People just ding up his building. I think every month or two, he calls me and he's like, I need another part. Need another piece. And it's like, if you can take those preventative measures on the front end and cover yourself, door width, you might pay a little extra, but I think it's going to save you in the long run. Colors, picking nice colors. My favorite color scheme personally is charcoal wall panels. It's like a dark gray with black trim. I think it's a beautiful color combination. It's very sleek. And then do a popping door. One of my favorite facilities we're building. We've already built in the city once, and we're building right down the road again up in Missouri. It's this lime green door on a dark charcoal and black trim storage facility.
Very inviting.
It's very, and it's, you drive by it and you're like, look at those doors. Like, what is that?
Right.
A storage facility. Holy smokes. It's not just your standard light stone burnished slate. I mean, it's a good color combination, but it's very bland.
Those details really matter. Even on the marketing side is more my expertise. And it's amazing if you'll have two identical pages, right? And then one of them will have like a dark blue button to click on and the other one will have like a green. And it'll be like, invariably there's like a 20% difference between these two pages and their conversion rate. And you're like, really? Like it just, and you test those things. And so I think a lot of times it's easy when we're building a facility that we don't think about it in that way. We're like, it's a metal building. It's everything's going to matter. Every detail is going to matter. The side, the roll up door, all these things are going to matter. And so I think, I love that attention to detail. It sounds like the big takeaways you gave there were attention to detail, but also that idea of planning and really, going, you want to go fast, but you also want to go slow. Like, you want to make progress, but you don't want to do it in a way that's going to make big mistakes that are going to cause you a lot of issues. So this has been fascinating, Austin. Really appreciate you taking time today. Before I let you go, for those that are listening to this and like, hey, I think I want to explore this. I'd like to, maybe I already have some land or I want to buy some land. How would they reach out to you to learn more about this?
Yeah. So our company name is TruSteel Buildings. So if you go to trusteelbuildings.com, you can actually fill out a form, and it's a simple form. It just gives building, what's your information, what are you looking for. It pings one of us over here. We've got a couple salesmen who they're all just like me. They all attention to detail. They're honest and transparent, and they're just looking to help people. You fill out that form, someone will reach out to you, and then same way that I think I kind of connected with CC Storage, which was through Facebook and through social media. We're all over it. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TruSteel Buildings. And then, of course, if you get a hold of me, I always give out my cell number. My cell, I say, is 24/7. I hope you don't call me at 1 a.m., but I'm young. I'm 27 years old. It's like I've got a lot of time, and right now for me is grind time. We're hungry. We like what we do, and we get excited talking about it, if you couldn't tell. I love talking about steel buildings, man. It's been awesome.
That's great, Austin. So let me give that website one more time because it is a different spelling. So it's TruSteel. It's TruSteel buildings.com. Is that right?
Yes, sir. That is right. I always joke with with the boss. I say, you just forgot the E, huh?
Yeah, I
couldn't remember that one. So yeah, TruSteelbuildings.com. That is right.
Excellent. Austin, thank you again so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Just appreciate you sharing your insights with us today.
Yeah. Thank you so much, James, for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for taking time to listen to this episode of the Self-Storage Insight Podcast. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope you did as well. My name is James Shepard, your host, and I wish you great success out there in the self-storage industry.